If you are not ready to invest at least $100 in your skills, this video is not for you. I work with those who value their time and results. My programs are tens of times faster and deeper than hundreds of free videos or cheap courses. This video is a summary of my experience over 8 years. For those who wanna earn more with editing, edit for bloggers or their own brand, stand out from the rest and create purposeful videos that really work. If you're one of them, watch carefully, others better not waste their time. I know you're really interested in how to make your videos look rich without breaking the bank, but let me take a moment to guess why this is so important to you. So maybe your videos look bad or cheap, and I totally get how frustrating it can be, but do you know why that is? Because there are 7 key elements that determine how your video is perceived. If you ignore them, you'll keep getting poor results over and over again. I've received hundreds of comments on my main channel about how cool my editing is and how great my videos look. I've even been told that my videos look like those from big channels with expensive production. Trust me, I know exactly how to achieve a professional high-end look without expensive gear and endless hours of editing. In this video, I'll tell you what to pay attention to so your video looks professional. Let me show you what I've prepared for you. The first thing I'd like to start with is the intro. By the way, I've never heard anyone talk about the importance of the intro from the perspective of video editing, but in reality, the intro is the most important part of the video. After all, let's agree. Without a good introduction to what the video is about, without clear context, you wouldn't want to watch it because nothing grabs your attention, and you don't understand why you should waste your time on it. The intro gives viewers clarity about what they expect inside, what the specific video is about. If it doesn't grab their attention, the watch time will be low and consequently, you can expect many views. The intro is as crucial as it gets because it gives the content creator a chance to engage the audience in the first 30 seconds. If you haven't captured their interest in those first few seconds, hoping they'll continue watching is just foolish. Even YouTube itself highlights the first 30 seconds as the most important. Often, after watching for 30 seconds, a viewer doesn't want to click away unless you ruin the impression later on. If 40% of viewers stick around after 30 seconds, it's likely that around 20% will watch until the end. There are exceptions, but generally, that's how it works. The key to the intro is to provide a clear understanding of the essence of the video. So, I hope you understand why the intro is important. But how do you make it engaging? To put it simply, the intro and context of the entire video should be aligned with its title. Let me give you an example for clarity. Take my example, a video about smooth camera movement in After Effects. The title and thumbnail are completely aligned and give a clear understanding of what the video is about. Right? And if someone needs to watch a video on that topic, they'll click because the essence is clear. But if I made a mistake in the intro, I would ruin the entire video right from the start. Let me show you the intro for reference and we'll break down why I did everything right. You asked me, I'm doing it. How to make smooth camera movements in After Effects without using the camera at all. As you just heard, I immediately point out that the video was requested by people and they noted that I do it well. You understand, right? I'm telling the viewer that this topic is in demand and backing it up with comments. Then I completely restate the title that made them click on the video. In other words, I reinforced what I mentioned in the title and what was written on the thumbnail. Now, listen carefully. To make the intro great, you need to exceed the viewer's expectations. Let me explain what I mean. I assume the viewer had a certain thought about the video. They were probably thinking that I would explain how to create graphics on a layer with a camera to make the animation smooth. And that thought likely formed because they have watched similar videos with a similar title and have seen and heard just that. But here, I say that I will show them how to create a 3D camera effect without a 3D camera. So I hope you understand that the thought was one thing, but I'm telling them that I'll show them a new way to create this effect that they didn't know about. In fact, they were already interested in how to do it, and I'm also offering them an easier and faster option that gives the same effect. This way, I exceeded their expectations. And now I'll tell you about a few more nuances. If something unusual happens at the start, something that can capture attention, the viewer will give you that attention. Many say that the intro should be dynamic and fast, But that's somewhat a misleading thought. Let me explain why. There's one question that completely flips the understanding of what kind of content needs to be filmed and how to edit it. I hope you know that everything fast is currently attracting attention. Fast content is at the peak of use and grabs immense attention. Many people have developed ADHD, which is why short content is in demand and gain millions of views. But there's one nuance. The type of content completely depends on the audience you want to attract. If the goal is to attract a young audience, for example in the age range of 15 to 25, then the focus should be on fast content. Naturally, the intro should also be in that same style. I call it FAVE, which stands for Fast Action for Viewer Engagement. Sometimes this style suits people over 25, but that's already an exception to the rule. Generally, older audiences are attracted to slower content because the older generation's characteristics and their perception of the internet as a whole, it's much easier for them to grasp something that resembles how they used to absorb information. A 50-year-old person, I believe, consumed information from books, spending a lot of time understanding a particular topic more deeply. In books, topics are explained for a long time and with various words, unlike how it's done now on social media. That's why before editing a video, ask yourself or client what audience needs to be attracted. The approach to creating the video, and the intro in particular, changes dramatically because of the one factor, the age of the audience. So I've come to the point that it's important what you say in the intro and how well it matches the thumbnail, title, and the viewer's expectations. If you don't meet their expectations, you've lost the viewer. If you do meet them, you've gained their attention. If you exceed their expectations, you've captured their full attention from start to finish. There are many exceptions and factors in general that influence how long a viewer watches a video. I've always been amazing at how it can be said that video editing determines how many views a video gets, which is why proof of good editing skills has turned into showcasing results of video on YouTube. But that's simply not true. Just think about it. When you watch a video, a lot can happen. You might get a call, remember something important, get distracted, not like the appearance, voice, filming quality, or something else. And it's precisely this that becomes the reason you didn't watch the video, not the editing quality. Often it's not due to poor editing. Editing is certainly important, but not in terms of animation and effects, but at the level of basic skills, which, by the way, not everyone possesses. And I still often notice similarly obvious mistakes that ruin the impression of the video so much that I just turn it off and lose the desire to continue watching. The next step to making a video that looks expensive is cutting the video. As you understand, this is a very basic step, but unfortunately, 90% of editors either don't understand this or don't want to understand it. They just cut the video using automated programs, plugins, or websites. They simply cut out unnecessary moments, but they don't pay attention to the person in the frame. This could be themselves, in which case it doesn't matter how they make the video, but if they are making a video for a client, then they can edit it that way. When editing a video, you need to feel the flow of the person, if you know what I mean. You just have to understand how the person speaks, their intonation, and the mood they are conveying. I'll explain to you why it's so important to cut the video with thought about why and how you are doing it. This is rather a deep topic that you won't be able to grasp it on the fly, so I ask you to listen and get the essence to understand what I'm trying to convey. Let's take me as an example. I'm a calm person who speaks calmly and tries to convey the same sense of calm and confidence in my video. Imagine what will happen if an editor starts cutting it as if I'm thinking and speaking very quickly. They add energy to me through dynamic editing. If they don't leave small pauses at the end and make the cut super dynamic, how will I appear in the video? How well did the video editor convey my inner feeling? What impression and what emotions will I ultimately convey in my video? I hope you understand what I mean. Everything should harmonize. How I speak, the cuts, the music, and so on. Not only the intro with the title and thumbnail, but also the narrative, style, and editing as a whole. For variety, you can add fades if it's appropriate, make the cut so that it's not just one clip followed by another, by apply techniques like J-cut, L-cut, or match cut. All of these add variety without straying from the overall style. If I were to give general advice, I would say, everything in video editing should be relevant. If a joke during filming was funny but not relevant, cut it out. If you added something to the video, make sure it looks organic against the backdrop of the whole video. There's no need to make something up. The basics are called that for a reason. They should be executed consistently. And I don't mean that you need to cut always the same way. If you applied the L-cut technique once, there's no need to apply only the technique at the junction of every clip. Just make a simple cut or crop on the next clip. It's simple but doesn't get boring quickly. These techniques are applied just for variety of the video, not on the permanent basis like basic cuts. Do you understand? Now it's time to talk about an underrated element in video, sound. And I'm not talking about sound design, but specifically about sound quality. To be more precise, I'm referring to the quality of the recorded voice. I hope you understand why this is so important and what quality sound is. A good example is any popular podcast. Yes, sometimes there's white noise, which is normal, but it can be removed in post-production. I won't generalize all content because podcasts are one thing and videos recorded outside are another, but right now I'm talking about the format of a talking head that everyone is familiar with. Typically, these videos are shot at home or in a studio, so the quality should be good, but often it's not. Many videos, even with expensive equipment, are edited with terrible sound. I understand that when watching on a phone, the sound might not seem bad, but many people use headphones that pick up all that noise and reverberation in the room. This greatly ruins the impression of the video. No one needs your high-quality video or great motion design if you can't be listened to. Of course, as an example, I'll talk about myself. I consider my sound quality to be excellent and I can confidently compare it to professional quality, even though I don't consider myself a professional in sound editing. By the way, leave a comment about what you think of my sound quality. So, my example, as I see it, is ideal because many top YouTubers buy microphone setups and audio interfaces for hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars, only to have sound in some videos worse than mine with a $60 microphone. Yes, I've been using this microphone to record my videos for the last 8 months. Of course, it's not as cool and easy as I would like, but the final result sounds just magnificent. It's all about the post-production, which is not difficult to do and can be done by anyone, but not everyone knows what I know to edit like I do. The space where you record plays just as important a role as the equipment. In fact, it might even be a more important factor than the equipment itself. If the space is large, it means there's a lot of echo and reverberation, which is instantly ruins sound quality. In that case, no post-production will save your sound. Therefore, it's crucial to ensure that the space where you record sound has as many objects as possible to absorb that echo. In this video, I dive deep into all these topics, but right now I'm only talking about the importance of all this in video. In future videos, I'll explain in detail how to apply all of this in your videos. So subscribe to learn more about video editing in depth. Now I'll talk about what I consider to be fairly objective matter: color. It's objective because there are aspects of colors and color correction that most people like, and since most people's opinions are objective, that's what matters. Anyway, that's not the point. Color, like what we discussed before, is a very important step in making your videos look expensive and professional. If you didn't know, most unedited videos look something like this. When filming with expensive cameras, the colors are captured in very muted tones, which are later made more vibrant for a realistic image during the actual video editing stage. There are two categories of color processing: basic and advanced. The basic categories include settings such as exposure, white balance, tint, contrast, and similar adjustments. These set the fundamental settings for light and color. The advanced categories include tools like wheels, sharpness, noise, curves, and so on. There can be many variations of settings. Many people also use LUTs. To put it briefly, LUTs are color presets that allow you to color grade your video with one click. You can then adjust these settings, but it's mainly done to avoid having to set everything up from scratch each time, provided that the location and lighting are consistent. In other cases, the approach to color correction should be tailored individually for each video. Personally, I individually adjust the colors in each of my new videos. This video is an exception to the rule because of its format. Overall, I advocate for an individual approach to each video. I'm against presets and uniform effects, but there's a factor like editing speed or deadlines that may prevent you from meticulously adjusting colors effects, and animations. You have to find a way out and use presets. Using presets doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, as there are various presets available. For instance, I have my own presets that I use in After Effects for certain manipulations that I perform consistently from project to project. There aren't many of them because I've only set up the most essential and frequently used ones, but this makes them very high quality. They are tailored specifically by me for my needs and tasks. I also haven't mentioned why it's so important to know how to work with color, at least at the basic level. The thing is, you convey the atmosphere of a video through color and light. You can change the light significantly in post-production, but you can definitely play around with colors. I may reveal a secret to you, but warm colors create a cozy atmosphere in video, while overly low saturation makes the video look dull and gloomy. There are many examples of how a specific atmosphere is created in movies or YouTube videos and how this is achieved, but I won't delve into those details in this video. The main rule I can highlight for a better understanding of color correction is to make the image as close to reality as possible. If a video could realistically look that way and all the colors are displayed realistically, then your color correction is at least not terrible. Of course, you need to evaluate each case individually, and it's hard to say something that will make color correction perfect for you, but I hope this rule helps make working with colors easier. Oh, and a few more clarifications. White should be white, not yellowish or bluish. If black is too black, that's also a problem. The same applies to white. If the light is blinding, you need to make it less bright. Let's move on to the details. By details, I mean text, video, GIFs, and similar overlay elements on top of the main video. The main video is called A-roll, while the secondary video is B-roll. You've probably heard about this, but just in case, I'll explain what it is. For example, you're filming a YouTube video featuring your face. Whether you're just a creator or a business owner, doesn't matter. Everyone has different goals, but the format is roughly the same. What you filmed with your camera, where you talk about something, is called A-roll. This serves as the main source of visual and audio information. B-roll, as I mentioned, is the secondary footage used when you need to visually show what you or someone else in the frame is talking about. It's pretty straightforward. There are other ways to illustrate what you are discussing, like creating an animation, but that's a more advanced level. And don't think that you can watch a few videos on animation and become a great editor. No, animation won't save your poor video just because you made it and it should grab attention. There are a few more details that truly make your videos look more expensive and better than just beautiful animations. What attracts people isn't just beauty, it's usefulness. If your information is useless and can be applied, then your video is of no value to anyone. Of course, this assumes that the essence of your video isn't teaching or conveying information for clients or viewers. If it's not useful content but just something nice to look at, like a showreel, then yes, you need to focus solely on aesthetics. But in my case, and in most cases, the beauty of your animation doesn't fundamentally change anything. From the perspective of website design, it works the same way. If a website doesn't sell and has zero conversion rates, then the site is of no use to anyone, even if it's beautiful. It's crucial to understand this if you want to create videos that are expensive and effective for clients, whether they're businesses or individual clients. Even if you didn't just watch a video, but also repeated everything shown in it, that won't teach you to animate as a whole. It requires practice. Honestly, I don't consider myself a professional animator or motion designer, even though I have extensive experience and many skills. If I need to replicate what someone else has done, I can do it. I've already demonstrated this on my channel and created 4 animations. One of the videos received a funny comment saying that I did it better than the original. Thank you for that. So adding details doesn't seem like too complicated a task until I show you how you could improve it. I don't mean to imply that adding details is a complex process. I just want to point out that coming up with how to present it well can be challenging. I've already developed a style that makes it easy for me to do this. Of course, without my experience, it would be tough, but the fact is that adding elements shouldn't be mindless either. Let me just move on to the next step that makes a video look expensive in the eyes of the viewer. As strange as it may sound, is music. Yes, it's that simple. I mean, adding music is simple, but Choosing the right track takes a lot of time. To help you understand how much music influences the perception of a video, I'll show you two examples, one with music and one without. You can then decide for yourself whether I know what I'm talking about and how significantly music affects what you feel while watching the same video clip. Do you think that to edit like a pro, you need expensive equipment and complicated software? Now, forget about it. The truth is, it doesn't matter what you work on, whether it's your phone, a PC, or top software. The most important thing is to following the right path. Video editing isn't just about cutting out the necessary parts. It's an art of presenting information in a way that grabs the viewer's attention from the first second. I know how it feels. You put tons of time into a project, think you've done everything perfectly, but the result doesn't meet your expectations. Often, it's not about the editing itself, but because the video doesn't grab attention. I've created a strategy with 8 simple steps that will help you avoid these mistakes and start making videos that catch the viewer's interest within the first 30 days. Do you think that to edit like a pro, you need expensive equipment and complicated software? Now, forget about it. The truth is, it doesn't matter what you work on, whether it's your phone, a PC, or top software. The most important thing is to following the right path. Video editing isn't just about cutting out the necessary parts. It's an art of presenting information in a way that grabs the viewer's attention from the first second. I know how it feels. You put tons of time into a project, think you've done everything perfectly, but the result doesn't meet your expectations. Often, it's not about the editing itself, but because the video doesn't grab attention. I've created a strategy with 8 simple steps that will help you avoid these mistakes and start making videos that catch the viewer's interest within the first 30 days. And that's just the beginning. Understand one thing. No matter how many tutorials you watch on cool animations, how many tips from famous bloggers you learn, it won't be enough to keep the viewer's attention. I hope my efforts aren't in vain and you appreciate how music adds the right atmosphere to the video. I hope you feel the same excitement I do every time I add music to the audio track. We haven't even moved on to the next step, and I already want to talk about it so you can understand how it further improves the video and makes it more atmospheric. But let's wrap up with music and the roles of its application to make the video feel more premium. Using music is actually simple, but let's figure out what kind of music to use. I remind you that there's a question that will help you answer my question about choosing music. What audience do you want to attract? This question, like with video editing and intros, will also give you an answer to this question. The perception of the video by a younger audience will be better if you had something dynamic that excited them from within, making their eyes light up with the music. For an older audience, such music may also work, but softer music that just breaks the silence is better than an intense track in the background. You can even skip the music entirely, which could positively impact both audiences. Using music from the 2015 style would also be inappropriate. What was popular back then might not be relevant today. Personally, I prefer instrumentals, like violin and piano in my videos. For this, I've created a huge music pack that pulls tracks that truly work well. I have tested track as well as some that I haven't used yet, but these packs make my job much easier. I constantly pull music from it and I don't have to search for what I need again because there's a wide selection of good music, though I update it sometimes to stay more current. Applying music is very simple. There's a straightforward rule that always works. Make the music 15 to 20 decibels quieter than the speaker's voice. If you don't delve into the details, this rule will help you always get it right. If you go a bit deeper, I'll say there are different frequencies in music, so one track may sound significantly quieter, while other can overpower the voice at the same volume. That's also something to consider. In other words, don't rely solely on the equalizer. Use your ears too. Just understand that music is a background for the atmosphere in the video, and it shouldn't interfere with the information being conveyed. If the music is clearly audible and doesn't require you to listen closely, and the person's voice in the frame is heard perfectly, then that's the ideal balance. If you adjust it this way, it won't matter what the music's volume is, as long as it doesn't interfere with listening to the information in the video. I've been waiting to share the final step, but it's definitely not the least important one. This step complements the entire picture and like the icing on the cake of the whole video. This step is sound effects. Yes, they will enhance the music and make the entire atmosphere even richer. They don't need necessarily to be paired with music. Sometimes adding sound effects alone is enough, and you can skip the music entirely. I can't help but mention that I've created a huge pack for this as well, so I don't have to search for sounds. There are standard sounds like whooshes, rises, hits, and the like, as well as popular sounds and memes. Yes, I spent about 30 hours on this, but it made my work so much easier that without this pack, I would have wasted several hours each time just searching for the sounds I needed. I already have sounds that I use regularly, and they add a bit of individuality to my style. Essentially saying, yes, I edited this. Sound effects are needed for several purposes, but I'll discuss that in one of the next videos. The application of sounds is very simple. I wouldn't want to give you a universal tip because universal tips are often poor and not truly universal. However, I will give you one that will often work. My advice: make the sounds just a little louder than the music. This will allow you them to be heard because the music won't drown them out and they won't interfere with the voice. When I say a little louder, I mean that you shouldn't perceive them audibly. You may have music at -20 decibels and a sound at -3, but that doesn't mean the sound will be too loud. Do you understand? I would also like to mention one detail that no one talks about. Don't cut sounds abruptly. Literally, when a sound is cut off before it finishes, it's annoying to the ear. And again, there are nuances. For example, if your sound is not a short whoosh but a long glitch sound, it's obvious, or maybe not, that the sound needs to be trimmed. You don't need 10 sounds of glitch, you choose the right moment from the sound, trim the excess, and insert the cut sound into a few frames, where it sounds appropriate and good. The same goes for all long sounds that shouldn't be interested in there entirely. I'm just talking about organic sounds that start smoothly and logically and just as smoothly. If I were to explain all these subtleties right now, the video would drag on significantly because there are a lot of nuances in editing and sound effects in particular. I've only highlighted a small part for you to understand the basics, but a bit deeper than what other video editors do on YouTube. To summarize the use of sounds, I can say this. They should definitely be used in every video because they add sense of depth, making the video feel more alive. But working with sound effects, like with all steps I've described, requires a lot of focused effort. If you dedicate enough time to it, show the determination, and engage your mind during your study and analysis, you'll definitely succeed. I assume you're already tired of your audio not meeting your expectations. Maybe you have good equipment, but the sound still doesn't come out the way it should. In this video, I'll give you a deeper breakdown of how to truly achieve clean and professional audio, regardless of your setup, whether it costs $50 or $5,000. I won't waste your time with useless information. Instead, I'll share everything I've learned over a year of working with audio processing so that you'll know exactly how to record and process sound at the highest level. If you've been looking for a single video that will ensure you constantly get clean audio, this is it. You'll learn all the details about how to prepare your recording space, what you need to eliminate reverb in the room, how to get rid of noise and unwanted sounds, and how to process your voice so that it sounds truly great. Preparing your recording space is crucial for two reasons. First, it makes the space much more pleasant to be in. Second, post-processing your voice will be significantly easier if you ensure the best possible sound from the start. Honestly, you don't need much to eliminate echo and reverb. Ideally, you want a small room. This will shorten the reverberations, which already greatly improves sound quality. If the room is large, you'll need to fill it with as many objects as possible that absorb echo. Soft objects work best for this. Things like carpets, blankets, pillows, mattresses, or curtains. The larger the room, the more objects you'll need to add. There are also special microphone stands with built-in acoustic foam that absorbs reverb. These aren't very expensive but can make your audio much more cleaner, even if your room has a lot of echo. Since the sound wave gets absorbed quickly, reverb doesn't form. The foam completely dampens the sound wave, making this a great solution for voice-over recordings, meaning if you're not filming yourself on camera. If you don't want to buy acoustic foam, I have an alternative that works just as well. It may not look as aesthetically pleasing, but it's just as effective. All you need is a single blanket. Position it behind your microphone so that it covers a good amount of space both in height and width. However, there's a nuance. If it's placed too close, your audio may sound less rich and more compressed. The short distance can over-dampen the sound, removing depth, which is crucial for achieving the best results. If you are recording on camera, this method won't be as effective, so you'll need to add more objects to the room. You could buy acoustic foam and mount it on the walls, and it will help, but there's one problem. This foam only absorbs certain frequencies. While it will reduce reverb and noise, it won't eliminate them entirely. I won't go too deep into technical details, but a little explanation is necessary. Ideal recordings have a frequency range. Humans typically hear from 20 to 20,000 Hz. Acoustic foam absorbs reverb at frequencies between 500 Hz and 5,000 Hz, meaning some reverberation will still remain. To absorb other frequencies, you would need more advanced equipment, like bass traps. However, those are used for professional recording studios, not for standard YouTube or social media videos, so I don't see much point in explaining further. And to be honest, this channel is not for everyone. If you're looking for quick and easy solutions or flashy animations, these videos are probably not for you. I focus on an approach that allows you to create videos that not only stand out, but also actually work and deliver results. For that, you need time, effort, and the willingness to invest in your outcome. So if that's for you, we can continue. So, you've set up your space, recorded a better sounding voice, but it's still not perfect. There's always room for improvement in post-processing, even if the raw audio already sounds good. I won't tie this to any specific software so that anyone can process their voice wherever it's possible. For the first stage, I used Adobe Audition to make significant improvements to sound quality, and I used Premiere Pro to fine-tune and enhance the overall voice tone. So, the first step, removing noise, reverb, unwanted sounds, and leveling the volume. For this, I use several effects. The reverb reduces reverb, the noise removes noise, the ether eliminates harsh sibilance, like the S sound, multiband compressor with the broadcast preset, adjusts frequencies slightly to make the sound richer and louder, limiter sets a volume threshold to maintain consistent loudness. This effect chain will help you clean up your audio efficiently, but if you want step-by-step guide in these programs, if you don't need a detailed video lessons on sound processing in Adobe Audition and Premiere Pro, click the link in the description and watch it now while it's still free. The second stage is a bit simpler. Here, I lower the frequencies where most of the reverb sits and boost both the low and high frequencies. Typically, reverb is strongest in the 200 to 500 Hz and 1000 to 2000 Hz ranges. I boost the low end at around 150 Hz and the highest at 10,000 Hz. Essentially, this is the foundation of any post-processing workflow to achieve clean audio without harsh sibilance. Plus, it helps make your voice sound deeper and more pleasant. Honestly, you are probably tired of lessons that just teach you how to press buttons. You wanna edit in a way that makes your videos high quality, intentional, and truly engaging. And I know how to help you with that. We are gonna work not just on teaching you editing techniques, but on helping you understand why and how to make every step, no matter what software you use. Whether it's your own channel, freelancing, or working with others, you'll learn to approach editing with the mindset that every detail matters. You'll start editing faster while still doing it with quality and purpose, so your work stands out. This will help you make more money, increase the value of your services, or simply create content that both you and your audience will enjoy. I won't just give you a theory. Instead, you'll get practical skills you can apply right away. You'll work on real projects, get personalized feedback, and have access to exclusive materials to help you grow. I won't leave you to deal with problems alone. I'll support you every step of the way. If you're ready to learn editing that truly makes a difference, click the link in the description. I only take 5 participants for a full month of training, so don't miss your spot. I understand how annoying it is when you spend hours editing, but your videos still don't grab attention. It's painful to put in all that work, only to have viewers skip your content. The problem isn't always the quality. Sometimes it's just about how your video is cut. If you want to stop wasting time on content that doesn't convert, this video is for you. Whether you're using a PC or a phone, I'll show you how to edit your videos in a way that keeps your audience engaged and drives results. On my main channel, I've already helped thousands of viewers with my content and received hundreds of comments about the quality of my video editing. A year ago, I helped a friend who was just starting his channel. The problem was that he didn't know how to make his videos interesting and keep viewers engaged. We worked on a strategy and some editing skills, including his approach to cutting. In just 7 months, he gained 100k subscribers and earned over 10k of dollars. This is an example of how the right approach to editing can drastically change your results. I guarantee that if you watch this video to the end, you will learn a lot of new things, remember what you knew before, or even change your perspective and approach so that you start making proper video cuts. Thanks to this, your videos will start getting more views than before. So in this video, I'll talk about common mistakes in video cutting, how to do it correctly, and give you some tips and tricks from my experience that will make your videos better. Before we get into how to do things correctly, which is super important for you to know, I need to tell you about something just as crucial. You absolutely need to understand what not to do, meaning the mistakes you might be making when cutting your video. You may already know about them or have heard of them somewhere, but I want to remind you so you never make these mistakes. Mistakes can completely ruin your video editing, so listen carefully. Most video editors don't even think about such a simple step as cutting footage, even though it's a key stage that shouldn't be done on intuition alone. They still blindly go for it, thinking it's easy and not that important. In reality, you need to know the rules that will help you make your cuts look professional and high-end. Yes, even a basic cut can look expensive. The core of video isn't effects, transitions, or fancy animations, which I have already talked about in my video on how to make your editing look expensive. The foundation of a video is in the cutting and other basic elements, which I'll definitely make more videos about on this channel. Obviously, the first step is cutting your footage, so you need to do it carefully. If you mess up the first stage, the whole video will look bad. It's like shooting a low-quality video and trying to fix it later. If you set up the lighting wrong or place the camera too close, you can change that afterward. But luckily for you, cutting footage can be improved beyond what it originally was. If your cuts are bad, no amount of good visuals will save your video from failure. Remember the golden rule. First, build a strong base for your video, and then work on the visuals, adding beautiful animations to enhance it. This is the biggest mistake, trying to make your video look good without handling the basics, which have a way bigger impact than the visual effects. Forget about crazy animations like Imangaji until you've mastered the essential stages of video editing. These steps matter much more when it comes to making your video look expensive or cheap. And to be honest, this channel isn't for everyone. If you are serious about investing in your skills and understand that quality training takes time and money, you'll find value here. I'm not about teaching cheap tricks or wasting months of things you can learn in 30 days. It's not about flashy animations that look good but don't add value. It's about building a strong foundation that makes your videos look professional, polished, and expensive. If you're looking to create content that delivers real results, increase your service rates, or upskill your team, you're in the right place. But if you're just trying to save money and expect quick fixes, this isn't for you. Many people don't realize this, and they don't understand that even the tiniest details in cutting can turn viewers away from a video. I haven't even mentioned that the only thing more important than good cuts is sound. If you need to improve your audio quality, I have a free mini lesson on professional sound processing for now. You can grab it via the link in the description. Another common mistake is not using, not knowing, or simply forgetting to use additional cutting techniques. These aren't mandatory for beginner editors, but they're crucial to making your video more dynamic and engaging. There are tons of these techniques, but I'll cover the fundamental ones a bit later. If you are not using them, your work won't look as professional simply because it lacks variety. And if there is no variety, your video becomes boring to watch. It's also a mistake not to pay attention to the speaker's speech tempo. If you are unsure what I mean, let me explain. For example, if the speaker in the video talks slowly and calmly, they are likely doing it on purpose to deliver information in a certain way and make the audience feel the same. In that case, you don't need to rush the pacing. Don't just cut out everything you can because you lose the vibe of the speaker is trying to convey. Instead, slow down with them and maintain the relaxed rhythm. In such cases, don't cut out every breath. Leave some space at the end of clips or don't trim at all. Just wait for the next phrase, unless there is a long pause in between. Of course, This depends on the specific situation, but I hope you get the idea. The same principle applies when the person in the video speaks fast. Catch the rhythm and don't slow it down by leaving too many pauses. Keep the energy by cutting out every unnecessary gap and breathe. This adds an expressive, engaging feel to the video and enhances the speaker's vibe. You need to be aware of this when cutting. Think of it like music. Imagine a race scene where the goal is to convey speed and tension, but then the editor adds cheerful, upbeat music that doesn't match the atmosphere at all. Do you think that would work? I highly doubt it. The same principle applies to cutting. Timing and pacing matter just as much. I hope you've already understood what not to do and grasped the importance of the mistakes I listed. By avoiding them, you'll already be cutting your videos better than before, but to edit better than 90% of all video editors, you need to understand how to do it correctly, right? I'll start with something very simple. Don't take it as something you already know and don't need. First, hear me out, then decide. You need to remove everything unnecessary from the video. This could be a failed take, a breath, or even a joke. Yes, a joke can be appropriate and add emotion to the video. In that case, you should keep it to lighten the mood and create sense of connection with the viewer to make them feel the video is real. But if the joke is out of place, even if it's funny, cut it. This way, the audience won't be distracted or confused, making it easier to grasp the main point of the video. Again, don't take this as a strict rule that you must always follow. No, you need to analyze each case and decide how to cut your video. Should you do it quickly, cutting out everything unnecessary, or take a slower approach, keeping small pauses to maintain the right atmosphere? It all depends on the specific situation, and there is no universal advice. I just gave you two opposite cases and their solutions. Your task is to connect with your own work. You need to understand how the viewer perceives it and ensure they enjoy the viewing process. They should feel that their time is well spent and that the video is worth watching. They should enjoy the flow of the video, not just its individual elements, something many focus on when creating flash animations. Maybe you are watching this video and really enjoy it, thinking the information is valuable and your time is well spent. If so, leave a comment about what you find engaging in this video. I'd love to read it. I have a simple rule. No matter how you cut video or how much you remove, always make sure the clips start with speech. If the beginning contains a few silent frames, a breath, or just a movement, cut it. If during editing you notice you've cut off half of a person's movement in the frame, don't overthink it. Movement isn't as important as the information being spoken. The key is for the speech to start immediately, without unnecessary frames at the beginning. At first, you may not see the point, but with experience, you'll realize it looks much better. Leaving unnecessary frames just looks unprofessional. Now I'll tell you about a few video cutting techniques I mentioned earlier. If you normally just cut videos, that's a standard cut. Nothing special. It works for any video and you can stick to it if you want. But I prefer to go deeper, so here are a few more techniques to make your editing less typical. J-cut, L-cut, and match cut. There's nothing complicated here. You just need to understand the principle behind each one. Listen and you'll get it. J-cut. This is when the audio starts slightly before the video track. The offset can be 5 or even 10 frames, depending on what looks and feels best. Usually too many frames create discomfort, so I don't recommend going beyond 7 frames. L-cut. This is when the video starts before the audio track. It works the same way as a J-cut. A difference that's too large will make the video uncomfortable to watch. Match cut. This one is a bit trickier. There are at least 2 ways to use it. First, when you have multiple locations but the central object differs while keeping the same shape. A quick transition creates a slideshow effect, and the similarity in shape between shots makes these transitions feel seamless. Second, when an action continues across different angles. For example, let's say you're picking up a computer mouse. The first shot shows you reaching for it, and the second shot, from a different angle, shows you placing your hand on it. The movement is split between 2 clips but maintains continuity. I have an animation example of this cut. Imagine a cursor moving toward a button. The next clip zooms in, making the button appear larger than in the previous frame. I hope you understand the essence of each cut. On YouTube, J-cuts and L-cuts are the most commonly used. Just using these two will add variety to your videos. but don't apply them to every cut, it will ruin the diversify and overall viewing experience. There's another small variation where you can slightly overlap one audio track with another. That is, the first speaker hasn't finished their sentence, but the next speech already begins on the second audio track. This is another type of cut, just with audio. But be careful not to overlap too much, or it will make the speech hard to understand and ruin the video's structure. There are hundreds of nuances that can vary in every situation, and listing them all is impossible, but I've highlighted the key ones and explained their principles. My advice to you, don't overthink it too much, especially if you're just starting out. I don't mean that you shouldn't cut your video or do things the way you want, ignoring editing rules. No, you need to dive into this topic, understand how it works, and learn how to do it properly, but once you've mastered it, don't pay excessive attention to every single frame, especially if it's a casual and authentic video where perfect editing and extreme precision aren't necessary. Assess the situation. If it's an advertising campaign for a business or brand, or just video that requires that level of attention, then do it as it should be done. That's it, you can experiment. After all, there are no strict rules on how to edit a video frame by frame. Still, despite what I just said, a bit of creativity should always be there. We are in a field where creativity is needed and matters, unlike programming, for example. Also, always approach each project responsibly and with a clear mind, especially when editing for someone else. Every video should be edited with awareness. When it comes to your own videos, you can do whatever you want because it's yours. But if there is a clear technical brief, follow it and don't invent something new. At the end of the day, especially at the editing stage, you need to think about what and how you're doing things, because the final success of the video depends on it. It doesn't matter how success is measured: views, watch time, ad revenue, or brand recognition. What matters is approaching video editing with a clear head and adding a bit of creativity to stand out from the rest. I really want your videos to get significantly better. These aren't just regular lessons like everyone else's. I teach editing with purpose and meaning, not just to check off a box like many others do. I offer training that will give you an understanding of each step in editing process and teach you to think like an editor who helps client or their own business achieve results. With this approach, you'll be able to increase your income and raise the value of your services. Here's what you'll get with my training: development of professional skills. You'll not only learn the technical aspects of editing, but also the principles that will help you think like a professional who knows why each step is being taken. Applying knowledge in any program. It doesn't matter whether you use Premiere Pro, DaVinci, or mobile apps. You'll know how to work effectively in any of them. Continuous feedback. I'll be there to help you improve. You'll receive personal advice and recommendations that will speed up your growth. Access to exclusive materials, not just video lessons, but also exclusive presets, loads, sound and music pack, overlays, icons, everything you need for quality editing. Community support. You won't be working alone. You'll be surrounded by like-minded people who will support and motivate you. If you're ready for editing that doesn't just get the job done, but actually makes a difference, I'll help you make it happen. You'll learn to approach each project consciously, understanding how to achieve results. Training is limited to give attention to each participant, with only 5 spots in the group. Right now, you're looking at 2 examples of the same video. Which one do you find more pleasant to watch? I would guess you prefer the one on the right. Am I right? I think you already figured out that the only difference between these 2 videos is color grading. But what if I told you that for the most part, color in the frame determines whether people will watch your videos or not? And what if I told you that the colors in your frame directly influence how many views your video will get? This isn't a myth or a made-up theory, it's just color, and it affects how people perceive your videos. And if color grading has such a huge impact, then you definitely need to know how to get great colors in your videos. In this video, I'll show you how to achieve high-quality color grading and teach you everything about color that you didn't know about before or maybe never even considered, so you can make your videos more visually appealing. To start, let's take a look at color models. Color models define how colors are encoded and displayed in the digital world. Different models are used depending on the task, and each has its own unique features. I'm gonna break down the 3 main ones: RGB, HSL, and LEB. RGB is primary model used in monitors, TVs, cameras, and all digital displays. It's based on the principle of additive color mixing. The more light you add, the brighter the color becomes. Imagine a black screen. If you add red, it lights up red. Add green and you'll get yellow, add blue, and all three colors mix to create white. This is exactly how screens work. They simply turn different colored pixels on or off to create an image. With RGB, you can mix these three colors in different proportions to create any shade. You've probably seen these three values before. Well, depending on what numbers you enter, you'll get different colors. RGB is great for working with videos and images, but it has one downside. It doesn't always match how the human eye perceives color. For example, pure blue appears darker than pure yellow, even though they have the same brightness in a digital representation. Now, let's talk about HSL. Imagine you want to change an object's color, but keep its brightness and saturation the same. In RGB, this is tricky because colors depend on each other. But HSL, which stands for hue, saturation, and lightness, is designed for exactly this purpose. HSL describes color with three parameters. Hue, the actual color, is measured in degrees from 0 degrees to 360 degrees. 0 degrees is red, 120 degrees is green, 240 degrees is blue, and so on. Saturation, how pure or muted the color is. At 0% saturation, the color turns gray. Lightness, how dark or bright the color is. 0% is black, 100% is white, and 50% is the mid-tone. HSL is useful in design and color correction because you can adjust just one parameter without affecting the others. For example, you can shift the hue to turn blue into green while keeping the same brightness. RGB and HSL are device dependent, meaning the colors you see on the screen may look different on another or when printed. But there's a color model that's independent of devices. LEB. LEB is designed to match how humans actually perceive color. It has three components. L, lightness, the brightness of the color, ranging from 0, black, to 100, white. A, the excess from green to red. B, the excess from blue to yellow. What makes LMB interesting is that it can be used for perfect color correction. For example, in Photoshop, you can make skin tones look more natural without affecting lighting, or you can adjust colors without losing details, something that often causes issues in RGB. So, which model should you use? RGB is ideal for working with videos and images on screens. HSL is great for editing colors, especially in design. LEB is the best choice for professional color correction. Since we are talking about video color correction, my choice is RGB. A quick note about white balance. White balance is one of the key settings for adjusting color. It determines the tone of white in your footage, but this isn't the same as tint, which I'll discuss later. It's about making your image look warmer, more yellow, or cooler, more blue. Ideally, you want to adjust it so that white appears as true white, without any unwanted color tints. This setting is pretty simple to use, and there's one basic rule. If your image looks too yellow, make the value negative. If your image looks too blue, make the value positive. It's an easy fix. You can clearly see the difference between blue and yellow. You can also use an auto white balance tool with an eyedropper. Click on the eyedropper, select the whitest part of your video, and it will automatically adjust the balance. However, this feature isn't always 100% accurate, so I recommend adjusting it manually. This way, you'll understand how it works and fine-tune it exactly how you want. Now, it's important to talk about where and how to do color grading. For this, I can highlight several programs and tools. Let's start with the programs. Of course, I recommend using DaVinci Resolve for color grading because this is where you have a huge number of features and options that will help you adjust colors down to the finest details. However, since I started and continue to work in After Effects and Premiere Pro, I would advise you to use the Elementary Color effect in these programs. It will give you a basic and few additional settings that will definitely be enough for quality color grading. As far as I know, in Final Cut Pro, the adjustment is a bit more complex and requires adding several effects, but it doesn't change the essence. It absolutely doesn't matter which program you're using. What's important is the knowledge you have to adjust colors correctly. You can do color grading even in CapCut and achieve high quality or you can work in DaVinci and make the colors terrible. What matters is not which tools you use, but the knowledge you apply in your work. Therefore, it's crucial not to fixate on equipment or software, but to use what you have. Focus on information and consume as much as you can, delving deeply into the field in which you wanna develop. Before you start doing color grading, you need to ensure that your monitor is correctly set up. For this, you need to calibrate your monitor. The easiest way for Windows is to search for Calibrate Display Color in the search bar and go through all steps in that test, where you can fine-tune the colors and contrast on your monitor. I haven't worked on macOS, so I can provide guidance there, but I'm sure you can find a way to set up the monitor similarly. You may search in the settings or check on YouTube. Additionally, you need to adjust the monitor itself, not just in the system. Depending on which monitor you have, you need to find videos on YouTube that specifically address setting up your monitor. If such a video doesn't exist or you don't like the colors after adjusting, you will have to configure it yourself. In fact, you need to make the colors look natural. For example, you need to adjust the RGB so that it's not obvious that one of the three colors stands out more than the others. In other words, there shouldn't be a dominant red, blue, or green hue. If one is noticeable, you need to decrease that color if everything is set to 100, or increase the others if all your parameters are slightly below 100. To avoid talking too much about monitor setup, I'll show you my settings instead. You can copy and edit them if your colors are displayed poorly. A few more tips. Don't make the saturation and contrast too high. Doing so can significantly distort the actual color and light rendering. After a bit of theory and monitor calibration, we can move on to the basic color correction. First, I will show you the tools and explain what they are for, and then I will demonstrate my process so you can see what I do and how it affects the results. First is white balance. As I mentioned, you can adjust the white balance using the eyedropper tool. This way you can set the temperature, which is the theory I told you about, but there is also green and magenta tint that can be adjusted automatically. I would recommend setting this manually. The next adjustment is saturation. You can adjust it here if you want to do only basic color correction, but if you are aiming for quality, it's better not to adjust it now. I'll show you a method and settings that will allow you to adjust saturation more precisely later. The exposure parameter generally makes everything brighter. I wouldn't set its value above 1. Usually my exposure is around 0.3 to 0.5. Contrast makes the image sharper by making the bright areas brighter and dark areas darker. I set the maximum value to 50. Sometimes you can make it negative, but that's very rare. Highlights make bright areas lighter or darker. Shadows do the same but for shadow areas. I try not to touch white and black, but as I mentioned in my video about making videos look expensive, sometimes the white can be too bright and the black can be too dark. So to achieve a slight balance, you can lower whites a bit and raise blacks. If you are wondering why you can lower highlights, I'll explain that these are two different parameters. You don't need to raise highlights, but this makes the bright areas too bright, so you'll need to adjust whites accordingly. I think you've often seen in films that white looks gray. This is done through the whites parameter to ensure that white isn't too bright, that it draws all the attention. I've covered basic correction, now it's time to talk about advanced color correction. Faded fill makes the image less contrasty. If you raise it a bit, the video can look cinematic. Honestly, this parameter is not really necessary, only in the rarest cases. Sharpen makes the video clearer, or adds blur if you set the parameter to a negative value. Now, let me explain why we didn't adjust saturation in the first block. Because here, there are two parameters that control the saturation of the video. If you don't want to fuss too much over this, you could just adjust saturation, but I will tell you about more detailed settings. Saturation is the overall saturation of the colors. If you max it out, the image will look toxic. If you remove it, it will become black and white. Vibrance is smart saturation. It boosts dull colors but barely touches already bright ones, so the image doesn't become overly vivid. Essentially, saturation is a coarse adjustment, while vibrance is more refined, keeping the colors natural. So you can lower saturation a bit and then add vibrance to balance the color saturation. Just play around with the values to understand how these parameters work. Now you can adjust the curves. Essentially, this is the same as contrast, but an extended version. The top point makes the bright areas lighter or darker, while the bottom point does the same for dark areas. You can adjust each color separately here, but it's not necessary for most people. Let me show you how to universally adjust curves so the video looks cinematic. To make it clearly, I'll explain in simple terms how to set it. Lower the upper point a bit and raise the lower point. Then, in those areas, hold the left mouse button and pull a bit up in the upper part and a little down in the lower part. Next is color wheels. These sliders control brightness, while these circles control the hue of highlights, midtones, and shadows. If your image still has a yellowish tint, you can slightly shift towards blue. This way you'll balance the color. You can also apply a few effects related to color grading, such as levels, vignette, noise, grain, and similar tweaks that influence the perception of the video. After manual color correction, we can also talk about automated adjustments. The simplest way is to use LUTs. A LUT, lookup table, is essentially a ready-mode color grading preset that allows you to apply specific settings to a video or image with one click. It significantly helps speed up the color adjustments process in videos. If you frequently edit videos with the same color and lighting setup, you can use a LUT. If that's not the case, it's better to adjust manually. You can try the different LUT presets and see the results, but I don't think there are universal presets that work for everyone. However, if you want to try using them, don't use the default LUTs provided in the programs. They are often poorly calibrated, making the video look terrible. And if you really want to achieve a great results for specific tasks, you may want to check out my LUT pack. I created presets that could fit well into your work. The link to the LUT pack is in the description. That was the theory, and now, as promised, I will show you my complete color grading process so you can understand how to do it and be able to replicate it. Your videos might look good, but if the sound is cheap, the video becomes boring and viewers will leave. Professional videos are instantly recognizable, the music enhances the visuals, every sound works for the atmosphere. But if the sound doesn't support it, the video loses all its value. Beginners lose quality because of a lot of mistakes, music that's too loud, the wrong track, or simply improper music settings. These are the things that give away an amateur within the first few seconds. But if you master sound, your videos will feel expensive and professional. Now I'll break down how to do that. But before I go into more detail, just watch and compare how the video is perceived without music and with music. What a huge difference. Do you think that to edit like a pro, you need expensive equipment and complicated software? Now, forget about it. The truth is, it doesn't matter what you work on, whether it's your phone, a PC, or top software. The most important thing is to following the right path. Video editing isn't just about cutting out the necessary parts. It's an art of presenting information in a way that grabs the viewer's attention from the first second. Do you think that to edit like a pro, you need expensive equipment and complicated software? Now, forget about it. The truth is, it doesn't matter what you work on, whether it's your phone, a PC, or top software. The most important thing is to following the right path. Video editing isn't just about cutting out the necessary parts. It's an art of presenting information in a way that grabs the viewer's attention from the first second. First, I'll tell you where to find music that won't get you a copyright strike and how to never get one. There are different sources available, both paid and free. Typically, free music can be of lower quality and mediocre. Sometimes it can even be created using AI, so it's better to get music from paid sources. But first, let's talk about free places where you can download music. There aren't many good places for free music, so I've highlighted two main sites where you can download it for free. The first and most basic site is YouTube. But don't rush to YouTube and download whatever sounds good. I'm talking about the YouTube library, which has a huge selection of music by genre. There are lots of filters here, so you can find music based on them. Personally, I don't usually take music from YouTube because, in my opinion, the tracks are quite simple. For higher quality tracks, I recommend the second site, where you can download music from any genre for free. This site is called Pixabay. It offers a numerous number of different tracks. Just type the genre or atmosphere you need into the search bar, and you'll find hundreds, if not thousands, of tracks to suit your taste. It's a good site, but there are many tracks created by AI. They may not be bad, but whether you use them or not is your choice. There are many paid, good sources either. I've also singled out just two. The first is the well-known Epidemic Sound. It has a huge amount of high-quality music for every taste. Just choose a genre, set the filters, and download any track. It's that simple. But personally, I prefer the site Artlist. It has a nicer interface and more accurate, detailed filters for selected music. Many popular YouTubers use music from here. Out of all the sites, I'd recommend this one, but the choice is yours. Now let's talk about copyright and how to avoid a strike. There's one rule that will help you. Just don't include more than 5 seconds of a track that's very popular on YouTube or globally. Most of these tracks already have copyrights, and even if the track isn't on YouTube, you could still get a strike for it. But that's not all. You might not get a strike for the music, but they could disable monetization on your video. To avoid that, simply check for violations during the video review process to see if your content affects monetization. If it does, you'll need to change the music during editing. These are YouTube's rules. Unfortunately, there's no way to know in advance which music will get a copyright strike and which won't. The only source of music without strikes or copyright is YouTube library. That's all. If you want to avoid copyright issues with any track, you need to make it quite enough that you can still hear it, but AI can recognize what the music is. If your voice is significantly louder, then you won't get a copyright strike and monetization will stay active. Now I need to talk about how to properly adjust the music for your video, because at this stage many mistakes can be made. In reality, it's not that complicated. You need to understand that the voice is more important than the music. The music is just background. It should not overpower the voice of the speaker. If the voice is around -6 decibels, the music should be in the range of -80 to -20 decibels. This way, the music will definitely be quieter than the voice. Of course, there are many nuances, but the universal advice is just like this. If you want to be more precise with adjusting the music, then you need to actually listen to how the video is perceived. If you realize that you really need to focus on what the speaker is saying, then make the music quieter. If the music is too quiet and you need to pay attention to it, then make the music louder. By following these rules and tips, you will definitely be able to adjust the music volume properly so that it's perceived well. So, how do you make your video high quality and sound expensive? You need to add the right atmosphere to the video. It's pretty simple, but not so easy if beginners make mistakes. Choosing the right music isn't hard if you just know one rule that will help you pick the music to match the mood of the video. There are two extremes, a happy atmosphere and a sad one, just like in music, major and minor. Of course, there are many more genres, and I believe that in each genre, there's both happy and sad music. There's also neutral music like ambient, just calm music. There aren't really universal tips. You simply have to start selecting music and evaluate each example separately so that you'll eventually understand what works best in which situation. I hope it's clear to you that for videos about historical moments, party music is not the right choice. These tracks have completely different atmospheres, and you need to convey that properly, not just visually, but with the music too. Choosing music and video editing in general, these are the nuances that make a video look expensive, but without a clear system, you can try endlessly and still not reach a high quality level. I've prepared a free 15-minute video for a breakdown how to really level up your editing in 30 days. Watch it first and then decide if you need my training. The link is in the description. Today you can apply everything I've said and make your videos look expensive by using well-chosen and properly adjusted music. Have you ever watched a video with a lot of text, icons of gifs, and thought, what a mess? Yes, details can make a video stand out and look professional, but if used incorrectly, they can give it a cheap feel. Today, let's break down how to avoid this mistake and use details the right way. Without details, a video looks empty, and with too many, it can look overloaded and sloppy. Let's learn how to add details in a way that makes your videos look cool and professional, not like a beginner's work. But first, I'll show you examples where a small amount of well-placed details adds professionalism, elegance, and premium feel to the video. Text is one of the most fundamental details of any video. Usually, it's needed to highlight an important point, list items, and add variety to the video. It helps to not just focus on the person on screen, but also add a bit of text. In fact, there are many uses for text. It's literally used for everything. Now I'll go into more detail about how to use it. Two important aspects of text are visibility and aesthetics. There are mistakes that many people make when adding text. For example, they choose a color that's hard to read on the background, or they use a font that's difficult to read. When using any font, you need to understand how legible the text is, because there are fonts where it's hard to distinguish which letter is which. When it comes to color, there's nothing complicated about it, really. First, you just need to understand color contrast. It's obvious that yellow text on a green background looks bad, or white text on a gray background. While this option is a bit better, there is still that sense of difficulty in reading the text. Not always incompatible colors actually look that way. It's important not to only to consider the color, but also its tint, saturation, and brightness. The best option is black on white or white on black. I hope you understand that the color contrast is there and it looks beautiful. Honestly, this is my favorite color combination in everything. However, there's another nuance. While the contrast can be there, it might not look as aesthetic and premium as black and white. For example, blue and orange are pretty contrasting colors. But do they look good together? I don't think so. But as I mentioned, you can tweak the tone a bit and less saturated colors can look better. So there's a bit of complexity here. Apart from contrasting colors, you also need to pick them properly. You may have already heard of color wheel and color combinations that go well together. Well, you can use it as a guide, but it doesn't guarantee that the colors will always look great together. That's why there are specific color combinations that go best together. There are quite a few, so you'll definitely find something you like. To help with that, I've created a small PDF file where I show these combinations and included the code for each color to make it easier for you to copy them into your projects. The link is in the description. The next detail about text is the font. A font can be hard to read because it's too thin or too distorted. And if you also add the wrong color, it certainly won't give your video a premium feel. You can choose a font that's easier to read, but in that case, you may run into a font that doesn't look that nice. It may be fine, but there are plenty of fonts that will look better. To start, you can take fonts from well-known brands. That way, you're unlikely to make a mistake with the font. Also, fonts may not match the style of your video. There are various beautiful and readable fonts, but some just won't fit the style of your video. You need to pay attention to that as well. Personally, I like using bunch shrift. It may not look the most beautiful, but it's easy to read. It's a standard system font. I also don't recommend using viewer designer fonts that might seem cool, but if you look at the fonts used in advertising campaigns or quality YouTube videos, you probably won't find anything like that. It's better to avoid those creative fonts. And to make sure you know what's trending and will look good in your videos, I've prepared a list of the best fonts. I've also left it in the description. The next detail you can use, aside from text, is icons. Well-chosen icons can visually highlight what's being discussed in the video. Usually, icons can represent a specific program or company, such as using a logo. Or you can add an icon to visually show certain actions in a clean and clear way. There are many variations of how and where to use icons, but overall the main task of icons is to highlight key moments, and to do so in a way that doesn't look cheap. Icons should be in the same color palette, have a unified style, and not conflict with each other. If you are adding company logos, you can simply change the color to make them fit better. However, if you need to highlight a specific company and draw attention to it, it's better not to change the color, but to create a beautiful background around the color that matches the logo seamlessly. It's important to realize that you shouldn't blindly copy others, but understand why you're doing it and what the goal is. Also, I can't stress enough that graphics in a video are just as important as all the other elements I've mentioned. And honestly, you don't even need to make them overly beautiful or overthink it and waste a lot of time. You can simplify it and still make it look nice. My version of graphics, in my opinion, looks simple and stylish, even though I didn't spend more than 5 minutes on it. What matters is how well the elements work together, both within the animation and within the video itself. Because if the mood of the video should be fun and entertainment, but you stray from that style and try to make it look like something Apple would do, it will feel completely out of place and ruin the overall impression. Remember, just because something looks beautiful doesn't mean it's appropriate, professional, or expensive looking. To make it easier for you to find and use all these icons in your videos, I've created my own pack, which I personally use. It contains a huge collection of icons and logos for literally every occasion. The link is in the description. Another detail is animation. Although I already talked about graphics, animation is still a bit different. What I mean is that animation is the specific way elements appear on screen, and they can either ruin the look or improve the video. I have a simple rule that helps avoid making mistakes. Keep the animations simple. Yeah, it's that simple. You don't need to spend a lot of time thinking about animations. The simplest one work best. For example, you can animate the opacity from 0 to 100 to create the text fade-in effect. Or you can create an animation where the element appears from the bottom upwards, adding smoothness to animation with graphs. It's a very simple animation, but it looks clean and definitely doesn't feel cheap. For the text fade-in with opacity, you can also add a blur at the start and then remove it. It looks much better than without the blur. Simple appearance animations like these often work better and give a more pleasant viewing experience compared to when everything feels too complicated. The one thing I don't recommend is basic fade-ins. For example, when the text simply appears and then quickly disappears. It looks very unprofessional even though it's super simple. It's just too simple. It's better to avoid this and go for minimalist animations instead. Minimalism is highly valued right now. It looks expensive and professional. In fact, it makes your job easier while delivering great results for your client. Think about how you can make your work more effective by simplifying things and not trying to make everything perfect. Sometimes imperfect works better, and in most projects, perfect isn't necessary. All you need is a solid fundamental video editing. I used to really struggle with my perfectionism. At the time, I didn't use any preset because I wanted to do everything manually to control every little detail. Of course, it paid off, but it wasn't worth all the time and effort. So I dialed back my perfectionism a bit, and it made everything so much easier. SFX aren't just sound effects. They're a tool that can elevate your video to a whole new level, turning it into something unforgettable and professional. In a world where content competes for attention every day, every detail matters. The right SFX not only enhance the atmosphere, but also make your content more appealing to viewers who appreciate quality. Imagine you're working on a project where you need to impress. All you need to add is SFX to make your content sound premium and expensive. It's the little details, like carefully selected sounds, that can make your content so powerful it stands out among millions of others. Let me show you an example of how a video feels with and without SFX. Do you think that to edit like a pro, you need expensive equipment and complicated software? Now, forget about it. The truth is, it doesn't matter what you work on, whether it's your phone, a PC, or top software. The most important thing is to following the right path. Video editing isn't just about cutting out the necessary parts. It's an art of presenting information in a way that grabs the viewer's attention from the first second. I know how it feels. You put tons of time into a project, think you've done everything perfectly, but the result doesn't meet your expectations. Often, it's not about the editing itself, but because the video doesn't grab attention. I've created a strategy with 8 simple steps that will help you avoid these mistakes and start making videos that catch the viewer's interest within the first 30 days. And that's just the beginning. Understand one thing. No matter how many tutorials you watch on cool animations, how many tips from famous bloggers you learn, it won't be enough to keep the viewer's attention. Do you think that to edit like a pro, you need expensive equipment and complicated software? Now, forget about it. The truth is, it doesn't matter what you work on, whether it's your phone, a PC, or top software. The most important thing is to following the right path. Video editing isn't just about cutting out the necessary parts. It's an art of presenting information in a way that grabs the viewer's attention from the first second. I know how it feels. You put tons of time into a project, think you've done everything perfectly, but the result doesn't meet your expectations. Often, it's not about the editing itself, but because the video doesn't grab attention. I've created a strategy with 8 simple steps that will help you avoid these mistakes and start making videos that catch the viewer's interest within the first 30 days. And that's just the beginning. Understand one thing. No matter how many tutorials you watch on cool animations, how many tips from famous bloggers you learn, it won't be enough to keep the viewer's attention. In video editing, there are many small details that affect the number of views. If you want your videos to grab more attention and sound professional, then watch until the end to learn everything you need and not miss anything. The significance of sound effects in video and their impact on perception is immense. Why is that? Sounds in video are like spices in a good dish. Without them, everything will be fine, but they are what make everything brighter and richer. The right SFX transform an ordinary video into something special that grabs attention and holds it. Many people think that sound effects aren't important, so they either don't add them at all or just throw them in without much thought. But that's a huge mistake and completely the wrong mindset. You can make hundreds of videos with and without SFX and compare them. I'm sure that every video with properly executed SFX will make the video sound more expensive. Without sounds, the video will look unfinished and flat. Sounds, on the other hand, add depth to any video. It doesn't even depend on the type of content. A video could even be without music but still has SFX. But in reality, the mistake could be that the sounds are of poor quality or just sound bad. Many existing SFX packs have this problem, which is why I decided to create my own high-quality SFX pack, where I gathered over 770 sounds and more than 280 music tracks. Everything is in one pack, where each piece of music and every sound is labeled in a way that makes it easy for anyone to find. It's clear and sorted into folders to make finding and sound easier. This will save you a ton of time searching for the right sounds. You can find this pack in the description. I'll start with how to correctly add SFX. There are 2 stages. The first is choosing the sound, and the second is placing it in the right spot on the audio track. Problems can arise right from the first stage, so let me explain everything in more detail. The sounds should be added in a way that they blend perfectly into the video at the specific moment. If you don't do this, the sound will be out of place and the video won't look professional. So, to add the sound correctly, you need to think about which sound would fit perfectly in that moment. At first, it might not work out perfectly, but that's okay. There are already familiar sounds that appear in literally every video. For example, whoosh, swish, rise, hit, and other sounds that are considered the basics of any video. Whoosh is used for a movement in the frame, whether it's zoom in, zoom out, or just regular text movement in any direction. Swish is a very similar sound to whoosh, but it still sounds a little different. Rise is used to build tension in the video before a special moment, and hit complements rise, relieving the tension to either explain or highlight what the tension was created in the first place. All of these sounds are standard in usage and shouldn't be neglected. As for other types of sounds, there are a lot of them. I only have so many of them in my pack. Of course, you don't need to use all of them in every video, and you'll develop your own set of sounds that you use most often. If you are just starting and have no experience at all, try starting with something simple. For example, take some footage and try to add sounds that will closely match what's happening in the video. This could be a street, forest, or just ocean. Once you master the basic sounds, you can move on to a stage where you try to add unusual sounds. You just need to try adding the sound and see how it feels. If you don't feel any discord between what you're hearing and what you're seeing, you've probably done it right. But that's still not guaranteed. Also, don't forget that the sounds should fit in with the whole video. They shouldn't be too loud or too quiet so that they don't even make an impact. The sound should be slightly louder than the music, but significantly quieter than the voice. Remember this rule. If the sounds are too loud or out of place, they'll grab attention, and that's something you should avoid. Because the focus should be on what speaker is saying, not on the sounds you've added. If you're talking about the common talking head format, the focus is on the speaker, not the sounds, and sounds are just an enhancement. Also, just like with music, sounds won't always be heard the same way at the same volume, so you need to adjust their volume yourself based on what sounds best to your ear. By the way, sounds just like music have their own mood. If you use an internet sound in combination with calm or positive music, it won't blend well together and your video's quality will suffer. In general, to avoid guessing and wasting a lot of time trying to figure out what sounds good, what doesn't, what's appropriate to add, and what's not, I recommend you watch a free 15-minute video where I explain how you can improve your editing skills in just 30 days. I'll share the formula with which, through editing, I helped a friend gain over 50 million views, more than 100k subscribers, and earn his first 10k of dollars in 7 months. If you are interested, check the description. We can also work together personally for a month, where I will help you with everything you need. As you've already realized, sound effects have a huge impact on how your videos are perceived by viewers. I hope you've understood everything and can start applying this knowledge in practice today. Have you ever noticed how a simple video without complicated transitions can look really professional and expensive? On the other hand, when you try to use every transition, the video becomes overloaded and cheap. Today I'll show you how to apply transitions properly without overdoing it. Instead of adding transitions just for the sake of it, let's focus on how to use them to enhance the look of your videos. And of course, we'll compare examples of bad and good transitions so you can immediately see the difference. In video editing, there are many small details that affect the number of views. Let's start with the basics. Cutting. In video editing, there are many small details that affect the number of views. Let's start with the basics. Cutting. The professionalism and expensive look of a video isn't about adding as much as possible, but rather about making transitions subtle and smooth. The focus should never be on the transitions themselves, but on the essence of the video. If transitions are made so bold and noticeable that each one feels like a special effect, that's not what we are aiming for. Minimalism is key, and it should even be presented in transitions to make your videos look more professional and expensive. The frequency of transitions is just as important as the types of transitions you use. If you add a transition at every point where two clips meet, nothing good will come of it. It's better to have no transitions at all than to add them constantly. Trust me, this won't only make your videos look cheaper, but it will also quickly become annoying and even irritating. The purpose of a transition is to separate two topics or takes in the video. For example, if you are talking about 10 reasons to start a business, there should be a transition between each reason, not between every word. Understand? You are signaling to the viewer that you've finished one point and are moving on to the next. There are two main types of transitions. The first is standard visual transition, which almost everyone uses in their videos. A visual change, whether noticeable or subtle, slightly alters the frame, creating the transition. These can include simple transitions like fade, dissolve, blur, glitch, distortion, and many other variations, Not all of them are great, but there are plenty of options. And all of these are visual transitions. The second is the audio transition, which happens through changing the music. Yes, this is also a transition and it's used less frequently, but it's equally effective and adds more depth. Let me explain how this works. When you begin a new topic, you switch from one piece of music to another. You can change the emotional tone or simply adjust the tempo to create an audio transition in your video. If there's an emotional shift between topics, changing the emotional tone in the music will be very fitting and will greatly improve the overall perception of the video and its professionalism. So let's get to the secret of transitions. And if you're expecting to hear some universal secret that will get hundreds of thousands of views, well, no, that's not gonna happen, and no one is gonna just give you some secret. All secrets aren't real secrets, especially when they've been shared with the right audience. In fact, all secrets aren't really secrets because everything is obvious and logical once you know about it. You can think of all the secrets as just facts. You may not have known them, but that doesn't make them secrets. For example, for me, all the secrets of video editing aren't really secrets anymore. Okay, let's say there is a real secret. Then the secret of transitions is actually very simple. You need to make sure the transition is perceived only on a subconscious level. In other words, when you add a transition, it shouldn't stand out. It should be perceived as a kind of checkpoint. Transitions that critically distort the video, drastically change the colors, or are very long and drawn out, cheapen the video and don't show professionalism. They only worsen your work. If you watch transitions in ads or YouTube videos, you won't even understand where the transition is or isn't. That's the kind of seamless transition you should aim for. Recently, transitions happen through text or animation between topics. If you pay attention to what is done at the intersection of two topics in a video, you'll better understand what it looks like and be able to apply it to your videos. You just need to start watching how editors work and pay more attention to all the little details I talk about on this channel. When it comes to 3D transitions, they are not the best solution for making a video look expensive. I'm talking about artificial 3D transitions that you can make in a program. Most of these transitions really look bad and very cliché. I recommend you not even think about adding such transitions to your videos. However, when it comes to 3D transitions made during filming and well thought out, then that makes sense. You see, I mean transitions created by camera movements during filming, not during the video editing process. These don't only look non-cliché, but also interesting. Of course, creativity is necessary here, and if you're gonna focus on such details, you'll need a team of people who will think through every little thing from idea to editing to make everything of the highest level. But usually, transitions are done using overlays. This could be a film overlay or a light flare. The idea is simple, just distort or cover the image with a small texture for a few frames. That's it. Of course, it's impossible to cover all the nuances and details, and it all depends on the specific situation and project. This is where personal factors come into play, which I can't account for in a video where I talk about a specific topic in general terms. However, for a deeper dive, I have a 15-minute video where I'll explain how to improve your editing skills in just 30 days, along with a few other tips that will make you a more conscious editor who understands what and why you're doing it. Forget about beautiful effects and animations, they won't help you make your videos more professional without high-quality fundamental editing. And if you wanna work with me individually, you can also find the link to the forum in the description. There are many subtleties to transitions in the video, but I've covered the basics so you can have a general understanding of their purpose, what's worth using, and what's better to skip. I teach purposeful editing. I hope you'll apply this knowledge today, and your videos will start to look more expensive. Subtitle presets are complete nonsense. You can tell right away when someone just adds a standard template and makes the video look cheap. It doesn't matter how good the footage is, if the text is done poorly, the video loses all its quality and professionalism. If you want your content to look high-end, then forget about typical presets and learn how to design subtitles so they actually look good. Today I'll show you how text can either ruin a video or make it look more visually expensive and professional. We'll go over common mistakes, look at bad examples, and learn how to do it the right way. Because if the cuts are bad, no animation or FAs can save the video. Sound is just as important. It's something people often ignore, but they shouldn't. Because if the cuts are bad, no animation or FAs can save the video. Sound is just as important. It's something people often ignore, but they shouldn't. Let's talk about fonts and how to design subtitles correctly. I've already covered fonts in my video about details, but I'll touch on them again here. It's crucial to ensure the text in your videos is easy to read and clearly visible. It should never blend into the background. No thin fonts with weird colors that just disappear into this scene. Ideally, choose bold fonts so that the text stands out. It's that simple. I'll talk more about color in a bit. For now, let's discuss text size. Obviously, it shouldn't be too small. Typically with a resolution of 1080 to 1920, I use a font size of 100 pixels. This way, the text isn't too big that it steals all the attention, but it's also not too small to be difficult to notice and read. Another important thing is to ensure that the text isn't too compressed and that the space in between letter and words isn't too tight. At the same time, too much spacing isn't good either because it makes the text look like separate letters rather than a cohesive phrase. The key is to make sure the subtitles don't merge into an unreadable block. Now let's decide on the color and how to style subtitles. Generally, white text works best. In most videos with camera footage, it's clearly visible. But if your background is white, don't use white text. I hope that's obvious. To slightly separate the text from the background, you can use a shadow. Shadows can vary. They can be soft and blurry, or sharper and more defined with a slight angle. The shadow shouldn't be too dark. Its purpose is just to subtly lift the text of the background. To emphasize the text even more, you can add a black stroke with a small thickness. If you're making subtitles in Premiere Pro, here are my settings that you can use to ensure the text is easy to read. Appearance animations shouldn't be too abrupt or unexpected. Everything should be smooth. If there's a long pause in speech, you can use a fade out animation and then continue. If you're adding transitions between subtitles, they shouldn't be sharp, drawn out, or distracting. Everything should feel natural. You can avoid animations between subtitles altogether to make reading and comprehension easier. But if you want a bit of variety, you can use a scale animation at the beginning of each subtitle. It's not too complicated and only takes a few seconds to set up. But I'm not focusing on practical steps here, I'm just giving you the most essential information. Where and how you create subtitles is up to you. I use a scale animation from 80 to 100 over 5 to 7 frames. The animation must be smooth. You can achieve this by adjusting the animation graph. This type of animation makes subtitles easy to read while also adding some variety to static text without making it annoying or distracting. There are also presets that don't look bad and simply add a slight touch of motion to the subtitles. Usually they create subtle movement, but under no circumstances should there be harsh rotations or text distortions. Another crucial point regarding subtitle appearance, there should be no gaps or pauses between the text. Those small frame gaps that sometimes appear in Premiere Pro shouldn't be there at all. They are distracting. When the text constantly disappears and reappears, it creates discomfort for the viewer. It's also important that the text appears on the exact frame where the word is spoken. Synchronizing text with speech is key here. If the text appears even a few frames too early or too late, it makes watching uncomfortable. In general, any mismatch between audio and visuals feels unpleasant. That's why this is a crucial detail in subtitle creation. Besides properly setting up subtitles and their animations, you also need to know where to place them. The simplest way is to position them slightly below the mouth if it's short-form content. If it's a long-format video, subtitles should be placed in the center, slightly above the very bottom of the video. This way, you'll achieve the standard placement that is commonly used. Here, I'm talking specifically about automatic subtitles that you don't manually adjust for each word. I'm not referring to edit styles videos where you animate every word manually. Of course, if that's the case, then the placement and text styling depend on the situation and the specific style you are following. Since I'm discussing automatic subtitles, I'm focusing on where and how to place the text. But there's an even more precise way to position subtitles for short videos. There's a layout grid that you can use in your videos. Some guides help you understand where interface elements will cover parts of the screen, while others assist with proper alignment for eyes, subtitles, and other elements. This is extremely useful for making short videos as optimized and viewer-friendly as possible. In order not to make a mistake in the placement of elements and subtitles in short or long videos, I have these frames that show you where you don't need to place different elements and where you need to place them. And along with them, I added instructions for use, link in the description. There are also two key details that can make reading subtitles much easier. These are single line and short subtitles. No one wants to struggle through two-line subtitles or read once longer than 4 words. So when creating subtitles, avoid formatting them into 2 lines or making them too long. Keep them as short as possible. If your subtitles end up being too long, simply break them into 2 parts and split a long sentence into smaller segments. I guarantee this method will make the text much easier to read and process on screen. Subtitles are a crucial element, especially in short-form content. There are various reasons for this, but they help videos get more views compared to those without them. And if you understand why they're necessary, your results will improve. To help you edit your videos with intention, I have a free 15-minute video where I'll explain how to start editing purposefully and for results in just 30 days. I also share some useful tips. The link is in the description. Don't forget about subtitles, do them right, and your videos will improve significantly, gain more views, and bring better results. If you watched until the end, that means you are definitely not one of those looking for shortcuts. This video is just the tip of the iceberg. The real depth starts in the training. And if you want to grow faster, earn more, and edit with purpose, you know where to go. To start, you can watch a free 15-minute video. And if you want to improve your skills, fill out a short form. Links are below the video. Thanks for watching, and good luck to those who don't bail halfway through.